5, 4, 3, 2. It's your first day back. 5, 4, 3. Howdy neighbors, David here. And today on Boondock Stallyns, we're going to be talking about alternate timelines in the Star Wars saga. Now, before we get started, go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll keep getting these bad boys going, and we're going to get this kicked off with a bang. Anywho, so Star Wars and timelines. Now, I know what you're thinking. Is there an alternate timeline in the Star Wars saga? And I'm here to say, yes, there is an alternate timeline in the Star Wars series. Now, you see, when George Lucas sold Lucasfilm to Disney, he made it very clear in the contract that nothing was supposed to change any of the original 6 movies. Star Wars 1 through 6 were untouchable. No remakes, no reboots, no reshoots, no more additions to the special features. None of that. Those 6 movies are the Bible. The expanded media, the comics, the video games, the animated series, all the other things that we know and love about Star Wars, all of those can be deleted and forgotten about as long as those 6 movies remain untouched. So what George Lucas did essentially right there was create a fixed point in the Star Wars universe. Everything in those 6 movies is a fixed point in time, and as a fixed point, none of it can be changed, but everything around it can be changed, kind of like in a state of flux, like in Doctor Who, where things that are in flux can change and maybe not have any negative effects or even positive effects on the fixed points. So, having said that, where does this Star Wars timeline take place? Well, first things first, let's take a look at the sequel trilogy. I know a lot of people aren't big fans of it, and I've got notes. But we're not here to discuss the sequel trilogy. We're here to discuss possibilities of getting around the sequel trilogy, and I think that Disney's doing so with their TV series on Disney+. So, let's pretend that 7, 8, and 9 are just like 1 through 6. They are canon. They are a timeline, but they can be changed. They can be ignored. They can be deleted and forgotten about. And the only evidence that I have for this is Star Wars Rebels. Let me explain. 5, 4, 3. Howdy neighbors, David here. Well, I'd already done that. Okay, so Star Wars Rebels. Now, this wasn't, for some reason, didn't get as wildly popular as the Clone Wars, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that the animation isn't as up to scratch as it is with Clone Wars. But to be fair, Rebels was Disney's very first venture into Star Wars territory. It was their very first property. And so when they went into it, it was rushed. They had to put Clone Wars on hold for 4 years, or for 6 years, sorry, to give us this show. But it also gave us great writing, great storytelling, great exposition, and it lets us know what happened to Ahsoka Tano. Now, in season, I'm giving spoilers away, so if you haven't seen the show, I'm sorry, but I'm going to give you a quick little summary of how it goes. In season 2, Ahsoka Tano shows up after where we find her years later after the Clone Wars, and at the end of season 2, she's hunting Jedi artifacts, and I forget if she was at a Sith temple or a Jedi temple, but her and the 2 main characters, Jedi Knight Kanan Jarrus and his apprentice Ezra Bridger, make it to a pyramid, a Sith temple, and Darth Vader goes to confront Ahsoka. Ahsoka, having learned Darth Vader's identity, she wants to confront him, and during the confrontation, you don't see it, but Ahsoka dies. Vader overpowers her during their duel, and the pyramid around them crashes, and Vader crawls out barely alive with damage done to his suit, and Ahsoka is gone now for the next 2 seasons of the show. But right there, that moment where she dies at the pyramid, that is canon in the Prime timeline. You see, when you get to Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, at the very end of the movie, all the voices of past Jedi are speaking to Rey, and Ashley Eccleston, who is the voice of Ahsoka Tano on the show, is the voice of Ahsoka Tano in Star Wars Episode 9 because she died in Season 2 of Rebels at the age she was being voiced by Ashley, which is why Ashley was voicing her at the end of Episode 9. It's kind of like when George Lucas put Hayden Christensen's face on Sebastian Shaw's body for Episode 6. It was because Anakin never saw himself grow up and grow old. He has no idea what he would look like, and so he made his Force Ghost look exactly like the last memory of himself, which was Hayden Christensen / 23-year-old Anakin from Revenge of the Sith. It reminded me of when Neo was unplugged from the Matrix and Morpheus plugs him back in and he still looks the same like he did in the Matrix because it's his digital self-projection. It's how he knows he looks. That was the mentality I took when George Lucas put Hayden Christensen in at the end of the movie. And so my thoughts on this were transferring to Ahsoka and the voice of Ashley versus live-action Rosario Dawson. It's because Ashley / Ahsoka died in Season 2, which is why Ashley was the voice of Ahsoka in Episode 9. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, it could just be because Rosario Dawson hadn't been cast at that one. Yes, I'm certain that's the answer, but keep this in mind. So, Ahsoka's dead in Season 2 of Star Wars Rebels. Then you get to Season 4 of Star Wars Rebels, and Ezra Bridger makes it to this place called the World Between Worlds, which, by the way, is a giant exposition device, if ever there was one. But the World Between Worlds is nothing. It is this blank, empty space with these long hallways / corridors that branch off to little windows, and through these little windows you see different places in time. It's basically showing you different points in space and time, and they see things from Ezra sees things from the prequel trilogy, he sees things from the sequel trilogy, he hears Kylo Ren and Rey's voices from The Last Jedi, he sees things that happen in the original trilogy, and then he walks up to one little window and he sees the fight between Ahsoka and Vader that he didn't get to see 2 years previously because him and his master were working on trying to get out of the temple while Ahsoka confronted Vader. And while he's watching the scene, Ahsoka is clearly about to be killed by Darth Vader, and in a moment of panic and pure instinct, Ezra reaches in to this window, grabs Ahsoka, and pulls her out, thus pulling her out of her place in time. The pyramid crashes down on Darth Vader, as we saw in the original show, and Darth Vader crawls out damaged from the rubble and debris on his suit, just like we saw. It doesn't change any of that, but Ahsoka then is pulled into the World Between Worlds and leaves the World Between Worlds with Ezra in his present day, which is about 2 or 3 years later. And so basically, she time jumps into the future. She makes it 3 years into the future. So technically, Ahsoka, Rosario Dawson Ahsoka is technically 3 years younger than the character should be because of the time jump. But right there, that moment when Ezra pulls her out of the pyramid and into the World Between Worlds, that is the Nexus event. And I'm using Marvelverse terms so everybody can keep up with me. But that was the Nexus event that created the alternate timeline. That, like in Back to the Future, is when 1985 skewed into an alternate timeline. This is where Rosario Dawson Ahsoka comes into play, and it looks like you could use that timeline to completely side-skirt the original trilogy if you wanted to side-skirt the original trilogy. I know when I first saw... I know the overall point of the shows are to fill in the gaps between Episode 6 and Episode 7, but at the same time, if they follow this alternate timeline theory that I set up for them, that they've set up for themselves, then the shows could progress to an alternate Episode 7. And they don't have to remake Episodes 7, 8, and 9, but they can make different stories and different things go on in the Star Wars universe so that should they want to make more canon Star Wars movies later, it would be taking place in the future. See, that's what Grogu's purpose is. Grogu's main purpose in the Star Wars universe is to be set up as a baby, and now that we know that Yoda's species can live for up to 900 years, you just jump a couple of centuries into the future, and Grogu is an adult, fully trained, force-wielding warrior, and we can see what him and those raised Jedi or future Jedi or even gray Jedi might be doing in the future with him wielding a lightsaber that I'm certain is going to have the ball from the Mandalorian ship on its hilt somewhere, I promise you. But this way, they can jump a few hundred years into the future with their next trilogy of movies that would be canon Star Wars, but they don't have to stay relatively true to the original sequel trilogy, which is episodes 7, 8, and 9, because they've got all this alternate universe backstory world building going on the live action shows. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes.